Okay, these are the cast of characters that I'm going to use this morning to attempt to baton and split some very, very hard red oak logs that I cut up with a chainsaw the other day. This tree had been down the last 2 years or so, and since I'm going to go camping, I decided to test out all this batoning that you see videoed on YouTube. I wanted to really actually see exactly how difficult it is. I know that I'm going to have a problem, and therefore the reason why you see these two guys here, because I'm splitting wood, and if these guys aren't up to the task against red oak, then I'm going to start eliciting their help in doing so. I even actually have a sledgehammer and a wedge that I'll probably end up using. I try to cut up the logs or the chunks of wood into small pieces so that I wouldn't really have a lot of problems getting through with some of these knives, but we'll see what we do. We've had a lot of rain here this summer. Actually, the rain started at spring, and it hasn't stopped. And one of the reasons why I have that wood with a tarp over it is because we're expecting to get a Irene hurricane coming up the East Coast, and so yesterday we had some pretty heavy thunderstorms, and but I wanted to kind of show you what happens out here in the Northeast, probably a lot of different places in the country. When it rains, you get a lot of spiders. And I don't know if you can see this real clearly, but that's a daddy long leg right there. And one of many that are around here right now. This is a piece of black walnut from one of the branches that fell a couple years ago, and I cut up. It's very dry. It should be very hard, and should be able to pound away at that small block of wood with the Frank Bowie knife that I just recently got in the last month or so. So we'll see what happens. Well, one of the first things I already started seeing is that since the time I used it, I'm starting to get some rust already on this Frank Bowie knife, and so we'll see. Well, so much for that batoning. I can tell you right now that this thing is not going to work out. This wood is just way too hard to get some of this knives to work at it. So I'm going to try to split this with an axe and then see if I can get some smaller pieces. Have you ever seen what red oak looks like? It is hard wood. And these gnats out here are getting pretty bad, so I'm going to go get a bug net. Well, that seemed to be okay. What really helps enables you to split pieces of wood off of this chunk is the width of this knife. It's actually a wedge, and it works real well in this application like this. So you guys get the idea. You can do it. There's no way that this knife was going to go through that small block. This is the kukri, the beast. I've done the video on this and never really did any batoning with it, so we'll see what happens. It's a lot sharper than the Frank Bowie knife, just because of the way that it's been designed. But let's see what we can do here. This one here is also an excellent chopper too. It's just as wide here as it is for the Frank Bowie knife, so it has a lot more front weight on it. Let's give Frank another try at this one. That works real well. Red oak is pretty fibrous, and one of the reasons why it's really hard. Once you get down to these kind of small pieces, basically any other knife will be able to do the same job. This is the Ontario Rack 2 knife. The spine on this is I would say 2/3 of the width of the other two knives that I've just used. The Beast, the Kukri, and also the Frank Bowie knife. So it's yeah, it could baton through, but with some effort. As the other ones will probably just go right through it on its own. Also, this knife is probably, out of all three knives that you've seen so far, is the sharpest. And last but not least but not last is the Recon cold steel knife. Also very sharp. Let's see what we can do with this piece here. See if we can chunk off a piece here. We should have no problems with this. The spine on this is also very, very thick, almost as thick as both the Frank Bowie knife and the Beast, the Cookery. Let's see if we can do sideways here. Problem is that the width of this log here is almost as long as the width of the knife. See how the Frank does. Yeah, a lot easier. We're getting close to the knot. This ain't gonna do it. You can see there that we got a knot, and it's in there. I'm telling you, this wood's going to win out. It is hard wood. Well, we got some kindling, but I think that we're going to have to use the axe for the rest of the stuff. There's no way, if I'm having problems getting through these little chunks, there's no way I'm going to be able to get through some of those big logs. Maybe if I had some poplar, which is a lot softer, and it splits when it's really cured dry, it splits real good. But this stuff, it's not having any of that. And here's my batoning stick. It's basically nothing now. So I would say that for kindling purposes, and if you had one knife, I bet you that this would do the job real nice. It's got a lot of weight, and even though there's a knot right there, it'll go through it. Basically, it's serving the purpose of a hand axe, which is what I've used in the past to get down to these small pieces. I'd rather be swinging this than a hand axe. It's got more balance to it. That's not to say that any other knife wouldn't be able to do the same. So that works. This guy will work too. When you get down to this level, all three knives do the job. Even the Recount Scout, if you had nothing else that you could use, this knife will do it. I'm happy to be able to own all 3 or 4 knives. By the way, I just hit myself here with the blade. This is why you wear gloves when you do this. This knife allows you to do a lot of fine work. This is about a 1/4 of an inch thick right now. And you got yourself a nice pair of chopsticks right now. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go back to the axe and chop up the rest of the stuff for camping. Alright, I'm going to bring out the beast. This is a different beast. This one's got a long handle beast. And basically it's meant as a splitter. it's got a wedge mechanism that basically as soon as it gets in, it uses these teeth to separate it. So we'll see how this one does. Hopefully it's nice and cured. As you can see, it works real well. And try to use the rest of the baton that I have to cut through some of this. Man, this is hardwood. Really can't take on too much at a time. You gotta do it in small chunks, otherwise it's not going to go right through it. No substitution for an axe. Give you guys a different angle, different view. Let's see what happens here. Actually, this piece here doesn't have any knots through it, so it should be going pretty good. What I found out that the sweet spot on this knife is right there. If you start back here in this little angle, it acts even better and more efficiently as a wedge. Split off this right here. Actually, this is working real good now. Since, as I said, it's working good, I got a problem. Maybe I bit a little bit more than I can handle here. Nope. Frank's doing okay. Good thing about this knife is you can beat the crap out of it, and it's going to need some sharpening, I can tell you that. and somehow I'm going to have to figure out how to keep the rust off of this. Going to have to keep it lubed. But Frank, I'm going to have to give you a call. See what you can suggest to remove some newly formed rust spots. My fault, not yours. I'm telling you, man, this wood is close to being petrified. Hard. Other than taking a saw vibrer with you on a camping trip, these folding saw knives are really handy and light to take with you in case you don't want to use a big blade to cut off a piece of limb for batoning. You can take one of these and get through it pretty quick. Unfortunately, it's made, guess. Yep, China. How long before we lose every job here in this country to this country? Well, it's cutting through a lot easier. Always heard from other people on YouTube, specifically Nut and Fancy, who basically says to carry this stuff with you when you're out bushwhacking. And this little saw was jamming up on me until I sprayed it. Now it's cutting right through it. I think a saw vibrer will probably do a lot better job. So would a chainsaw. It does take a lot of calories to cut through any of this stuff, whether you're using a saw, batoning, anything like that. Well, my next baton. It's more like a club. Well, I'm down to the last 3 pieces. Basically using these Rubbermaid tubs to pack up the wood, put it in the back of the pickup, and carry it into camp. I'm pretty sure since it's a state park, they're not going to allow you to go out and forage for your own firewood, so I'm bringing it in. Didn't actually tape this, but it got to a point where this stuff is so hard to even with the axe slash wedge axe handle that I'm using, the ultimate beast as I'm calling it, even that had problems. I actually took my chainsaw out and tried to cut it in half, and it wasn't doing anything. I mean, the filings that were coming off the chainsaw were like dust, which meant that the chain was dull. So I stopped and sharpened the chain, went back at it again, and nothing. So I basically had to take out my wedge and sledgehammer to split that piece. But boy, it makes you really appreciate modern comforts. The red oak almost won, but brutality and strength won over today. Well, this is the end result. I got a bucket full of kindling, and I got some medium-sized pieces there, and then 2 other bins with larger pieces. And by the way, the Ultimate Beast has a name. It's called Chopper 1. And I would have not been able to get through all this, especially on the bigger pieces, without this this baby. And again, cast of characters: the Ontario Rack 2, the Kirkery, the Cold Steel Recon Scout, and the custom made Frank Bowie knife, which I like very, very much. Actually, I like all these 4 knives. And of course, can't forget our Mr. Sledge and Mr. Handy Long Handle Axe. Well, I am so glad that I do not have to chop wood to heat my house. I have oil, and I also have a pellet stove that to do that with. But right next to where I was working is my baby, my home away from home, 38-foot Carry Light 5th wheel. And if you go up, you'll see a couple of videos that I have. Actually, one nice video that shows you the inside. This is a nice way to tour the country in. And of course, that wouldn't be possible without my Top Kick 4500.